Mysterious prophetesses of the Bible exposed. Unbelievable tales of their powerful legacies. Few knew what truly happened that night. It was shrouded in shadows and secrets, a moment when the ordinary met the extraordinary. The air was thick with anticipation, whispers circulating among the crowd like a gusty wind through the trees. The prophetess, a woman named Deborah, stood at the edge of the battlefield, her heart pounding. She was no ordinary figure. She was meant to be a leader, a voice of divine insight in a time when Israel was gripped by fear as the sun dipped low, casting eerie shadows across the land. Men and women gazed toward her, eyes wide with wonder and dread. Deborah, a warrior in spirit, had received word from the Almighty. But what was the secret that ignited a fire within her? The people sought signs, their faces aglow with desperation. They felt the weight of history balanced on the edge of her words. Could she truly unravel the threads of fate woven around them? Days had turned to weeks since her visions became known. Dreams that flickered like candle flames in the dark spoke of a general's defeat. But who would believe a woman? In a society bound by tradition, her voice faced skepticism and challenge. Yet, Deborah saw the shadows of war inching closer, and uncertainty crept into the hearts of her people. Then, the earth shook with a rumble. The call to arms echoed, a harsh anthem piercing through evening silence. Would her insight unite the weary Israelites or push them deeper into despair? Her mind raced as she heard of Barak, a general plagued by doubt. How could she convince him to trust a woman's guidance in battle? Rabid fear coursed through the camp. Amidst the flickering light of campfires, hushed conversations buzzed like angry hornets. What if he refused her command? Would they remain paralyzed, lost beneath the burdens of their own fear? With each passing moment, the tension suffocated the air. As the stars twinkled above like watchful eyes, questions hung in the night. Would Deborah rise and claim her power? Would they listen to the unthinkable? The dust stirred at her feet, each grain whispering promises of glory or ruin. The battle awaited, but where was the answer? Debates among the crowd sparked, faces twisted in hope and skepticism. Would she step forward into the unknown? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As twilight deepened, drawing shadows thicker around the encampment, a sense of trepidation twisted through those gathered. Deborah stood distinct among them, her stature an embodiment of resolve against the encroaching dread. She felt the weight of countless generations pressing down upon her shoulders, the hopes of her people sculpted into their fragile faces as they awaited her guidance. In the depths of the encampment, the air crackled with tension. Every heart beat in rhythm with an unspoken prayer. Faith mingled with fear, an intoxicating mixture. Barak, the general who stood poised between action and hesitation, contemplated the prophecy shared by Deborah. His strong hands trembled slightly, gripping his sword as if it were a lifeline. Would he truly yield to a woman's counsel? A surge of doubt swept over him, blurring the fine line between valor and folly. Deborah stepped forward, her heart steadying. In that moment, she felt the whisper of the divine brush close, emboldening her spirit. "Barak," she called, her voice slicing through the murmurs like a clarion bell. "This battle will not be won by mere strength of arms but guided by faith and divine decree. Will you march forth with me?" The silence that followed stretched interminably, filled with the sound of hearts racing. She looked into Barak's eyes and saw not just doubt but the flicker of something deep, a longing for redemption, perhaps even a flicker of belief. Still, the shadows of conventional warfare loomed large, daunting in their lethality. "Who are we to challenge the giants?" he finally uttered, a tremor evident in his tone. What if we fail? The scars of defeat travel deep in stories. What if your words bear no truth? With profound clarity, Deborah clasped his hand, her touch warm and steady. It is not I who calls you to battle, but the Lord. He is our true commander. Lift your eyes and see the chariots that thunder toward us. These are the opponents we must face, but we do not stand alone. Together, we will forge a path that even the strongest giants cannot impede. Around them, whispers shifted from doubts to intrigue, igniting a flicker of hope within the restless crowd. The anticipation swelled, hanging like ripe fruit, waiting to be plucked. Deborah continued, each word pregnant with significance. We embark not in pursuit of glory but to reclaim our home and our faith. Behold the army of Sisera, yet understand, their might is nothing against the covenant we carry. Suddenly, a hush fell as lightning split the sky. The heavens seemed to affirm her words, resounding with booming thunder. Deborah could feel the currents of history turning, leaving behind old tales for new beginnings. The Israelites scanned the darkened horizon, verses of long-forgotten scriptures awakening within their hearts. As the moment swelled, Barak's resolve began to take form. I will follow your command, he said, though uncertainty lingered as a shadow behind his eyes. But if we falter, I fear the song of defeat will echo through our people for eternity. Is it worth the risk, Deborah? The prophetess studied him carefully, a blend of compassion and fierce determination shaping her response. Faith requires risk, for it rests not in the seen, but the unseen. Step forward and watch how they perceive our battle. With our faith unshaken, we shall transcend beyond mere flesh and bone. And yet, as the murmurs of preparation danced through the camp, Deborah felt an inkling of something more, a deeper mystery unfurling within her spirit. Would their united stand scribe a new chapter in Israel's history, or would the shadows swallow them whole? What lay ahead? The clash of swords, the echo of shouts, such was the frantic rhythm of approaching victory and imminent loss. Each heartbeat echoed a prayer, resonating with uncertainty. As they prepared to move, one question loomed, lurking in the thoughts of every soul present. What unseen forces were at play, steering their fates deeper into the heart of battle? As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, the Israelites gathered their spirits along the edge of the valley. Deborah stood among them, her presence a beacon of hope against the encroaching shadows of Sisera's enormous army. In those early hours, as the cool morning air filled with the scent of earth and dew, an inexplicable energy pulsed through the encampment, binding their hearts together. The sounds of armor clanking and shields being strapped reverberated, but Deborah knew that the true preparation lay not in their physical readiness but in their collective spirit. Her thoughts danced between the weight of impending conflict and the underlying potential of divine providence. In the quiet before the storm, she recalled the stories of ancestors' tales of struggles and triumphs against insurmountable odds, grounded in a deep, unwavering faith that transcended the very fabric of reality. Listen closely, Deborah spoke as she rallied her people, her voice firm yet tender, echoing across the valley. This is not merely a battle of swords and shields. It is a test of our spirit. Each of you carries a shard of history within you, a legacy filled with the promise of choice. Choose faith over fear. In our unison, there lies a power greater than any sword can wield. As the assembly echoed her sentiment, Barak moved to stand nearer. His brow furrowed as if he bore the weight of the world upon his shoulders. Deborah, he whispered conspiratorially, do you truly believe that the Almighty will intervene as you say? What sign will we have of his favor? The prophetess considered his query, feeling the encroaching uncertainties nestle within her own heart. The signs are woven through the very fabric of our journey. Remember the miracles of water from stone, the bread of heaven fed to our ancestors. Yet, we must also understand this. The greatest sign of his favor may be our willingness to step forward into the unknown. Just as the first rays of sunlight crested the hills, a rumble echoed in the distance, thunderous chariots drawing nearer. The sound sent a tremor of dread through the ranks. Yet, Deborah held Barak's gaze, imploring him to find the courage stirring within. This is our moment. These chariots mean nothing against the will of the Most High. Look beyond the terror of what is seen, and perceive what your spirit knows to be true. Around them, the forces of Israel began to rise, vivified by her words. They took their positions, shadows solidifying into fearless defenders of their land. Deborah closed her eyes for a moment, reaching deep within, calling upon the whispers of ancestors, the lingering echoes of a covenant freshly breathed into life once again. She could feel the pulse of history around her, as if the very air crackled with the weight of souls lost and found in battles long past, before the echoes of Sisera's army clashed violently with their own. Deborah invoked a prayer, her voice rising above the din. O Lord, guide us. We are but vessels for your purpose. In our hands, you have placed the chance to reclaim what was lost, to stand as a testament to your enduring promises. As she opened her eyes, a profound stillness enveloped the encampment, each heartbeat resonating with an affirmation of purpose. However, a thought nagged persistently within her. What if destiny wove them into a narrative yet unseen? One where the outcome of this day resonated beyond mere victory or defeat. Would their struggle define the Israelite legacy for generations, or were they merely pawns in a much grander design? The sun ascended higher, illuminating the battlefield, revealing Sisera's army poised for conflict. With uncertainty lurking in the depths of her heart, Deborah turned to her soldiers, their solemn faces glimmering with resolve and fear entwined. Who would they become in this moment, victors, heroes, or remnants of lost hopes? What unseen realms will converge upon this battlefield today? She wondered, as the forces of Israel marched forward into the uncertainty of the day. What mysteries beyond their ken awaited unraveling? As the sun fully embraced the earth with its warmth, a hush enveloped the battlefield, as if nature itself held its breath in anticipation. The air was thick with tension, laced with the scent of impending strife, and Deborah stood at the forefront of her people, embodying both the weight of leadership and the light of hope. In the stillness, she sensed a shift, a stirring of winds that whispered promises not yet fulfilled. The clamor of clashing metal was distant, a mere backdrop to the resonating truth that echoed within her soul. This battle is woven with threads far surpassing our understanding, she murmured softly, half to herself and half to the Almighty. May we not falter, for there is purpose even in chaos. Her eyes roamed over the faces of her warriors, etched with determination yet shadowed by trepidation. Barak stood vigilant beside her, though his body was taut with doubt. What if we are not enough? He asked quietly, more to the ground than to Deborah. What if our offerings of faith fall short against their might? In her heart, she felt the ancient stories of her people rise to life, the moments when divine intervention came in the most unlikely forms. It is written, she began, drawing from the depths of her experience. In our weakness, his strength will be made perfect. Trust that we are not alone in this moment. Just then, a loud horn from Sisera's camp sounded a fierce challenge, breaking the serene veil that had enveloped them moments before. With that call, the chariots surged forward like a storm, a swirling mass of hooves and metal, glinting ominously in the morning sun. The earth trembled beneath their advance, and the Israelites braced themselves, an unspoken unity coursing through their ranks. But as the first clash of swords erupted, something unexpected unfolded. A dark cloud gathered overhead, swirling ominously, blotting out the sunlight. Thunder rolled heavily, as if the heavens were stirring in response to the fray below. Deborah's heart raced. Could this be a sign? She raised her head high, feeling the power of prophecy swell within her. Look to the skies, she shouted. The Almighty is among us. Her words kindled flames of hope anew. From the corner of her eye, she noticed a figure moving through the chaos, a young woman, lost among men, seemingly untouched by the fear that gripped her comrades. The girl's fierce resolve caught Deborah's attention, for she could see that her heart beat in rhythm with the divine. She, too, carried an echo of legacy. The battle raged on, with the Israelites pushing against the tide of Sisera's might, but something deeper unfolded within Deborah's spirit. She understood then that a shared identity threaded through them, a legacy not dictated solely by lineage or battlefield prowess, but by the indelible connection to their Creator who weaved possibilities into existence. May we become an extension of his will, echoed within her heart, igniting the voices of those who had come before to amplify her own. The young woman struck down an enemy soldier with unexpected grace, her movements a dance of defiance against despair. Deborah felt the spirit of Miriam flow through her, the triumphant song sung on the shores woven with each swing of the young warrior's sword as the sun broke through the dark clouds, illuminating the fierce combat. Deborah witnessed something extraordinary. A banner of light above their heads, where despair had once reigned. But what could it mean? And how long could such clarity endure against the fray of reality? Could this day herald the resurgence of an ancient promise that the Most High was truly with them? The question hung in the air, unresolved, echoing in silence, as the battle surged in intensity. What hidden truths awaited discovery as they pressed forward today, armed with faith and the promise of what might yet unfold? As the clangor of battle heightened, pulsing like a relentless heartbeat, Deborah's heart surged with fervor for her people. Each clash of metal against metal, each cry of the wounded, wove into the very fabric of her being. The young warrior she had seen earlier fought valiantly, her empty eyes reflecting fearlessness. But there was something Maureen unmistakable glow that radiated from her resolute stance. As if she had been touched by divinity itself, Deborah's gaze followed the girl as she moved, her form fluid within the chaotic storm of men. The air thickened with the echoes of lost souls, stories of those who had fought and fallen before, as if ancestors enveloped the battlefield, each one silently urging their descendants to rise. The weight of their expectation pressed upon Deborah, awakening her to the depth of her role. Not just a leader, but a vessel of a promise that stretched back before her own existence. Do not falter. She urged her warriors, her voice rising above sorrow and strife. For we bear more than our own burdens. We carry the legacy of those who have come before us. There was a resonance in her words that seemed to ripple across the field, igniting a flicker of hope in the eyes of those who had looked to her in doubt. Yet, with each bold strike, the ominous shadows of Sisera's forces loomed like specters over them, challenging the courage of the Israelites. The chariots, a whirlwind of destruction, bore down with merciless force. Deborah's pulse quickened, a wave of realization washing over her. This battle was not only a struggle against flesh and bone, but against the very despair that clung to the Ardada in the flicker of a moment. As the clouds began to swirl with a fierce coldness, the young warrior stumbled upon the ground, her energy momentarily drawn from her. A surge of urgency ignited within Deborah as she rushed forward, her spirit attuned to the rhythm of the young girl's heart. She knelt beside her, the din of battle muffled for a heartbeat. "What is your name, brave one?" she asked, though the answer felt woven into the fabric of their shared existence. "Jael," came the whispered response, tinged with pain yet filled with fierce resolve. "I serve in my father's house." Even as she spoke, Jael's hands gripped the hilt of her sword, ready to rise again. "Your father's house holds strength rooted in faith," Deborah reminded her. "Look past the fear. Harness it. It is a tool, not a chain." In that moment, something ignited between them, an unspoken acknowledgement that their paths had converged for a purpose greater than battle. They were woven pieces of a sacred tapestry. But as Deborah helped Jael to her feet, a distant rumble echoed behind them, the sound of the earth shifting in response to the ongoing conflict. As if the heavens themselves were alerting the world, a voice deeper than thunder whispered into Deborah's heart, urging her to see beyond what lay before them. "What are we fighting for?" she pondered as she surveyed the battlefield. Could it be that each clash of weapons and each cry of freedom was more than survival? The idea took root within her. Perhaps it was the reclamation of hope woven through generations, a resistance against the oppression of despair. Could it be that in their collective struggle, they were not merely fighting a foe of flesh, but an ancient shadow that sought to dim the light of their legacy? As the battle raged on, Deborah turned back to Jael, a kindred spirit ignited within them. "Together, we shall not only defend our lives but reclaim the promise of the land we hold dear." With that pledge, they joined their warriors, side by side, a collective force bolstered by faith and strength. The sound of victory felt elusive yet tantalizingly close. But wasn't the true victory deeper and more profound? A whisper of a greater revelation seemed just out of reach, rising from the depths of their struggle. What deeper meanings of legacy and identity awaited them in this tumultuous dance of life and death? As the sun dipped into the horizon, casting a blood-red hue over the battlefield, despair and hope danced together in a bitter intimacy. The earth bore witness to the clash of wills, each moment an echo in the hearts of those that stood resolute amidst the chaos. The stench of sweat and iron hung in the air, mingled with the cries of valor, yet the presence of something ancient loomed larger than the turmoil of the conflict. Deborah felt it, a whisper of wisdom threading through the fabric of her spirit, awakening something primordial in her. Jael, she called, her voice a beacon in the storm. What will we become today? Warriors born of blood and bone, or bearers of a promise so large it encompasses generations? Jael, her breath steadying, looked into Deborah's eyes, the flame of understanding flickering between them. There is power in our truth, isn't there? We are not merely battling Sisera. We are finding our place in a story woven by our ancestors, she replied, her voice stronger now, resonating with the weight of purpose. Deborah nodded gravely, the truth reflecting in the sheen of her armor. Yes, but there is more to this fight. Trust that we are being watched not just by our ancestors, but by the very hands that shaped our fate. Her heart yearned for unity and the shared legacy that all Israelites carried. For every battle fought in our name is an echo of battles fought by those who came before, illuminating our path. As the silhouettes of chariots charged towards them, a pulse of energy surged through Deborah and Jael. They became conduits of hope, their faith tethered to those who stood alongside them, a living tapestry stitched together through sacrifices and resilience. Each warrior around them was not just an individual but a bearer of stories, binding them together in a sacred purpose. A sudden burst of light glimmered on the horizon, illuminating their grim faces with a celestial fire. It caught Deborah's eye, pulling her focus away momentarily from the chaos. Was it a shimmer of divine influence, or simply a trick of the dying light? The line between the physical and spiritual blurred, a veil lifting to unveil the deeper layers of existence. Can you see it? Jael whispered, her eyes shining as she too sensed the shift. The promise is right there just beyond. Deborah turned, feeling the power of her own life converging with the lives that had come before. We stand at the intersection of destiny and providence, she mused, feeling the gravity of her role swell within her chest. But one question lingered, shadowing her thoughts and the air around her. What lies beyond the victory of this day? The answer seemed to dance just beyond her reach, wrapped in layers of ancient wisdom and future hope. As the clash of swords resumed, louder than before, the air crackled with tension, tightening with the knotted strands of fate yet unwoven. The battlefield became a living entity, a prayer formed through the hands of those who fought, yet one stark revelation hung suspended. Amid the clattering chaos, the essence of who they were and who they could become ebbed and flowed, caught in the duality of struggle and grace in that single heartbeat. They prepared not just for a fight for their lives, but for recognition beyond the here and now. Will our legacy be written in blood or in faith? Deborah whispered amongst the din, wondering if their true battle lay beyond the clash of the sword into realms not yet explored. The mysteries of their existence loomed, tantalizing yet unfathomable as they charged onward, threading each heartbeat with purpose and the silent cries of those yearning to be remembered. The clash of metal struck the air again, a reminder of the urgency pressing upon Deborah and Jael as they stood their ground. The sounds of war wrapped around them, swirling like a tempest threatening to consume all. In the thick of it, Deborah felt a distinct pulse in her spirit. It was the heartbeat of the land itself, throbbing with the memories of generations who had struggled long before their time. As chariots rumbled forward, drawn by the fierce resolve of Sisera's forces, Deborah steadied her breath, centering herself amidst the brewing storm. Her eyes, sharp and discerning, searched the faces of her fellow warriors. Each one, a mosaic of emotions, shared a sacred understanding, a blend of fear, courage, and hope. It occurred to her then that this wasn't merely a conflict of flesh and blood but an examination of faith and history. Jael, she called again, her voice clearer now, what if our enemies are not just the men we see before us, but also the doubts that gnaw at our souls? Jael took a moment to process her words, then responded with quiet resolve. Our greatest battles are often against ourselves. We fight not just for our lives, but for our beliefs, for the names of those who came before us, and for the dreams we strive to achieve. A swirling thought crossed Deborah's mind, leading her to consider the unseen forces at play. Could it be, she pondered aloud, that the very land we tread is shaped by the prayers and cries of our ancestors? Are we witnesses to a legacy that is still being carved, or a legacy that exists only in our hearts, waiting for the actions of today to breathe it into life? A flicker of movement drew Deborah's gaze to the edge of the battlefield, where a woman cloaked in white emerged, seemingly untouched by the surrounding chaos. A wave of energy radiated from her presence, an unearthly calm contrasting sharply with the turbulence around. Was she a prophetess, a spirit sent from the heavens, or a hallucination born of exhaustion and fear? Deborah felt a shimmering connection to the woman, an unspoken understanding that transcended the confines of language. In that fleeting moment, an unexplainable whisper crept into her heart, igniting a yearning to understand the depths of her spiritual ancestry. Seek her out, Jael urged softly, sensing Deborah's distraction. Perhaps she carries a message, a piece of our puzzle. Determined, Deborah fought against the instinct to remain rooted in her place. With a steady heartbeat, she took a step toward the mysterious figure, and the world around her seemed to hush, as if holding its breath. The chaos continued, yet she could feel an invisible thread drawing her closer, entwining her spirit with something greater as she trailed forward. Each step felt heavy with possibility, laced with histories untold and futures unwritten. Would reaching the woman answer the question plaguing her heart, the question of what victory truly meant? But as Deborah closed the distance, the woman turned slightly, revealing eyes that mirrored galaxies, full of ancient wisdom and uncharted paths. Yet, rather than speaking, she pointed toward the ground, where the earth bore the weight of centuries of struggle, and where the blood of their ancestors mingled with the soil. Deborah's heart raced. What did this gesture imply? Was it a call to honor the past, a reminder of the burden they carried, or a warning of what lay ahead? The world around her blurred once more. Was she simply a warrior in the midst of battle, or something more? Will our choices forge chains or build bridges? She whispered to the wind, unsure if she would find the answer in the clash of swords or within the very essence of her being. The battlefield raged on, yet in her heart, a new question took root, one infinitely profound. What legacy would they choose to leave behind? As Deborah approached the woman, her resolve wavered, uncertainty mingling with an urgency born of the fierce tumult around her. The pointed fingers of the figure hovered just above the ground, as if beckoning Deborah to witness something crucial hidden beneath the layers of dirt and history. The air was thick with tension. Time felt suspended, allowing her to ponder the weight of her purpose. With a trembling breath, Deborah knelt beside the spot indicated by the woman, the earthy aroma swirling around her like a forgotten prayer. A chill descended over her, and for a fleeting moment, she felt as if she could glimpse into the very soul of the land itself. It held stories of her people, the whisperings of joys and sorrows binding them through generations, the resonance of laughter from festive gatherings, the echo of lament from battles lost, and the solemn prayers of those who had sought divine favor amidst the chaos. Deborah. The woman's voice echoed softly, clear yet enigmatic, as if carried by the wind. You stand upon the bones of your forebears. Do you recognize their struggle within your own? This question struck Deborah like a physical blow. Beneath the rustle of the leaves and the cries of war, she felt a calling to engage with her lineage. Did she truly grasp the heritage within her? The struggles of women who had been warriors of spirit long before swords clashed, who had woven resilience into the very fabric of their families, remained intertwined with her fate. The realization that what she faced transcended time brought forth a tide of emotions, anchoring her in this moment. Are we mere echoes of those who came before us, she breathed, or agents of our own legacy? Can we rise, not as shadows cast by their deeds, but as beacons, forging a path illuminated by our choices? The woman nodded, her expression imbued with a serene understanding that stretched beyond the physical realm. Each battle won or lost shapes the tapestry of time. However, choices made in fear often cloud your vision. Seek clarity, Deborah, and endeavor not just for victory in war, but for legacy in spirit. With these words sinking deep into her heart, Deborah felt a stirring within, a spark ignited by the weight of responsibility. What choices would carry forward into the life of the land? She thought of the many faces that relied on her and the decisions that would determine their future. As the din of swords and cries surged anew, the specter of Sisera's forces pressed closer, testing not only their skill but their faith. Her gaze flicked back to Jael, who had remained steadfast, her resolve unwavering. Deborah understood now that together, they wove a legacy that chronicled not just their battle but their hearts, their compacts with the land and their kin. Yet, even amid this powerful revelation, a question hovered like a specter above them. Would the choices made in the heat of this tumult uphold the principles they aspired to serve? Could they sustain their spirit amidst the weight of survival? The smell of sweet earth mixed with the tang of tension permeated her senses, a constant reminder of what it means to exist in this space, alive, aware, and terribly vulnerable. As she prepared to return to the fray, the weight of the moment settled around her like a mantle, urging her to consider. In the struggle for victory, would they remember to honor the sacrifices that shaped their path? As Deborah rose from the earth, her spirit stirred with an intensity she'd never known. The cadence of battle reverberated in her ears, yet her heart beat to a different rhythm, a call deeply rooted in understanding and purpose. With a final glance at the woman still shrouded in mystery, she felt an unexplainable bond woven between them, a connection that transcended the transient strife of their time. The battlefield lay before her, chaos erupting like a storm. Soldiers moved with urgency, their faces a tapestry of fear and bravery. Deborah's mind raced with thoughts of the legacy she was crafting, not just for herself but for those who would follow. As she took her place amongst her warriors, the weight of her lineage draped around her like an armor of courage. "Listen, people of Israel," she called, her voice cutting through the clamor, summoning attention. "Today's fight is not merely for survival but for our covenant with the Almighty and the very essence of who we are. We are not just defenders of land but bearers of a promise that binds generations." Shifting her gaze to the horizon, where Sisera's army advanced, Deborah remembered the stories whispered around the hearth, the tales of women who had led with wisdom and faith, who became symbols of resistance and hope. Could she live up to that legacy? Could she embody the strength of those who had risen before her even as darkness threatened to consume them? The ground trembled beneath her feet, a reminder of the visceral reality of war, yet something within her thrummed with conviction. "Together, we are vessels of divine purpose," she continued, her words lifting like flames in the cool air. "Let our spirits be bold and our resolve unyielding." As her warriors rallied at her side, a strange calm enveloped her. Deborah sensed the weight of the momentous significance that reached beyond the immediate turmoil of battle. It revealed glimpses of an unseen force, interlocking the fates of the past, present, and future. But amidst this burgeoning awareness, fears nudged gently at the edges of her heart. What sacrifices lay ahead? Would her choices lead to the flourishing of their lineage or to the disintegration of their spirit? Before she could conjure answers, the clash of swords broke the spell, as Sisera's forces descended upon them like a wave. In that harrowing moment, as she raised her sword, a whisper echoed in her soul, a challenge to honor not just the pursuit of victory, but the struggle imbued with love and purpose. "Hold steadfast, warriors. Let this battle entrench us deeper in our heritage," she shouted, the words infused with reverence for those who had come before. As the first clash met her resolve, an inexplicable feeling dawned on her. It was as if the voices of ancestors resounded at her back, guiding her actions, propelling her forward in a dance of destiny, intricately choreographed with the rhythms of life and death. But this storm of battle raised a haunting question that lingered beyond the clash of swords. In the pursuit of legacy, would they find the wisdom to choose not merely paths of power, but paths steeped in the integrity of their honor? Would the lessons of their forebears illuminate their hearts in the darkest hours? As the tide of war surged indomitably, Deborah felt the weight of that inquiry intensifying, reverberating in her very core. As the tumult of battle surged around her, Deborah's heart pounded with urgency and clarity. Each clash of swords was a reminder that they were not just fighting for survival but wrestling with the very essence of their identity, their faith, and their future. The battlefield transformed into a crucible, where the fire of their struggle melded their hearts with the choices woven from the fabric of their shared legacy. In the chaos, she recalled the words spoken by the mysterious woman. The weight of history pressed against her consciousness, whispering secrets of courage and resilience embedded deep within her kin. Would her choices honor this heritage, or would they dissipate like smoke in the air? It was a question etched in the essence of every warrior, not just to overcome this foe but to elevate themselves into the annals of history. With renewed vigor, Deborah stepped forward amidst the fray, her sword gleaming in the sunlight that pierced the thick clouds. "Israel," she called out, the urgency in her voice sharpening the focus of her warriors. "We reclaim our legacy today. Every strike, every decision we make shapes not only our fate, but lays the path for those who will follow us. In their hearts, let them find strength in the stories we forge." As she led the charge, a remarkable shift was felt among her people. The sound of clashing swords harmonized into a mountain chorus of purpose, echoing in their hearts and ringing clear as silver. They were no longer simply soldiers. They stood as embodiments of faith and conviction, ready to face the tempest together. Yet amidst the rising tide of adrenaline, something unexpected unfolded. Their collective determination summoned a tempest of its own, stirring the winds and shifting the clouds overhead. A resurgence of clarity illuminated Deborah's soul as she pressed deeper into the fray. Could it be that the Almighty was responding, orchestrating an outcome beyond the realm of their understanding? In that evocative moment, the earth trembled, and a blinding flash of lightning cleaved through the gathering storm. A voice, as deep and resonant as thunder, cascaded over them. "Fear not, for I am with you." The words ignited a profound transformation within her and radiated through her warriors like a surge of divine energy, fueling their resolve and enkindling faith more potent than steel. As Sisera's forces advanced, a palpable wave of fear washed over them. Yet the Israelites stood rooted in the promise that they were not alone. Deborah could see in Barak's eyes a dawning realization that transcended the constraints of doubt. He rallied beside her, his battle cry merging with hers, amplifying a fervor that spiraled into the air like smoke rising from a sacred altar. "Together, we will not falter." And as the battle raged on, something surreal began to blossom amidst the chaos. The younger warriors, inspired by the presence of their elder, Jael included, fought with a ferocity that belied their size, attacking Sisera's forces with wild, unwavering faith. They were not simply fighting for the moment, they were becoming the embodiment of every prayer ever uttered, every tale of triumph engraved into the sands of their homeland. Yet, in the crescendo of battle, a vision struck Deborah, crystallizing the truth she had wrestled with amidst the din of conflict. This struggle was more than flesh against flesh. It was a reunion of soul-soft past, present, and future entwined in an intricate dance of destiny and choice. At that moment, she understood the true legacy of Israel was not defined solely by victories, but by the journey, the courage to stand against despair, and the will to uplift one another, even against insurmountable odds. With that insight blazing fiercely within her, she turned toward Jael, who had grown strong amid this maelstrom. "We fight as one," Deborah declared, extending her hand toward the youthful warrior. "Together we break the chains of doubt. Together, we shatter the grip of despair. Let our legacy be one of hearts united and spirits bold." Jael grasped Deborah's hand, intertwining their wills. As the light of ancient truths illuminated their minds, those who believed would forge the path forward, drawing strength not only from their own hearts, but from the ancestors who fought along with them. "Let us not only conquer, but become the embodiment of faith, defiance, and hope." And then, enveloped by the shouts and clashes around them, something miraculous occurred. A roaring wind swept through the battlefield, scattering dust and debris, as if the very heavens had taken notice of their resolve. Deborah felt the warmth of something far beyond them, an embrace of divine presence that surged through her veins. It was then she saw them, faces of those who had come before, ethereal and radiant, standing alongside her and her warriors, rallying in spirit with newfound fervor. They surged forward, the strength of their ancestors propelling them against Sisera's forces. Every strike was a determined step toward reclaiming a legacy, every scream a cry for hope, as they forces driven by faith pressed with purpose against the overwhelming tide of despair as victory became palpable, not merely defined by the defeat of adversaries, but by the emergence of their indomitable spirits. Deborah felt a profound connection to all who participated in this exquisite unfolding. This was the tale of her people. They were not mere survivors of battle but architects of a legacy that transcended time. In that moment of truth, she realized that whatever the outcome of battle, they had already achieved something monumental. They emerged as a people bound together, intertwined in shared faith and purpose that would resonate through future generations. Victory was no longer a singular event, but an eternal heritage, beginning anew in every act of courage, every choice where fear was met with faith. As the dust settled and the cries of victory reverberated through the valley, Deborah raised her sword high, her spirit soaring. Our tomorrow springs forth from the choices of today. What we have forged here will echo through time, weaving our legacy into an unbreakable bond of hope. And with that declaration, she felt the weight of an eternity settled comfortably upon her shoulders. For the true power of legacy was not in the moments won or lost, but in the shared journey, the profound recognition that within their hearts lived an everlasting legacy of faith, empowerment, and transformation, ready to inspire the world beyond their story. Thus, as night fell upon the battlefield, peace encircled the souls of those who fought. They had woven their identities together, threading tales that would inspire generations. And as Deborah looked out to the horizon, illuminated by the soft glow of hope, she understood one undeniable truth: the spirit of Israel would forever resonate in the hearts of those willing to stand, to fight, and to become the very embodiment of their legacy. In love, in faith, and in unity, they had forged a promise greater than the battles faced. They had given birth to a new awakening that would forever echo throughout history.